Hey everyone, I'm here to tell you everything about this exceptional 1990 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. This has been my personal car and my daily driver for over 6 years. And as opposed to some of the other restoration projects that I've dove into and gotten way too expensive and big arguments with my wife, I chose to do this car over time. These cars are really special to me. I grew up in them. My grandma owned 3 different Wagoneers from 1978 to 1990. And I really kind of took a deliberate approach to how I was going to refine this car for what I was going to use it for, which is ultimately to be a memory machine for my family, to do road trips, and ultimately have the safety and everyday drivability that this car now has. So when I got it, it was a very good condition car. I bought it out of Arizona at a Wagoneer specific dealership. Got it home, drove it around, chased some warts out of that original setup and realized, you know what, this is not a very reliable setup. I'm gonna swap the motor. Opted for a GM Connect and Cruise LS, surprise, surprise. An L96, however, that was a heavy duty truck motor, 6 liter out of the Sierra and Silverado models. That thing runs on 87 gas and is super reliable, if not the most, it's not the most efficient LS package, I will say that much. However, I had imagined doing some towing in this rig, maybe an Airstream. You know, I've got some grand delusions. I worked with Novak Jeep Conversions in Logan, Utah. They helped and design an adapter plate for those Connect and Cruise setups, and they also provided me with a rebuilt 4L60E, which was a great general upgrade from the stock AMC 360, which had 150,000 miles on it. I definitely got that everyday drivability and I drove that car a ton. The only other things we changed when we swapped the motor, I did do a vintage air conditioning setup and kind of remapped the vents inside. And then I also put a Dakota Digital gauge cluster, which was great. Immediately linked up to that GM Connect and Cruise setup and spoke to each other very easily. I drove that setup for about 3 years. The only thing I did in the interim, I put a BJ's Off-Road 4-inch lift kit and some BF Goodrich KO2s. We had to massage that lift kit because the L96 is so much lighter than the AMC 360, but I had a car that I could drive every day. And then I just started chasing down little issues like window motors, water leaks, and over the course of 5 years, I pretty much tackled all of that. After those 10,000 miles, I thought, okay, look, I really have that next step to make. I've got another kid, so that makes 2. But there's still some safety issues that I don't really feel comfortable with my wife getting in and driving my kids around in it. So we looked at what we could do to the stock chassis and really a 150,000 mile frame, which ended up being in excellent condition. We would have to modify and do some links and accommodate the potential disc brake setup and some of the road manners that I was lusting after. And in that time frame, I looked at Roadster Shop. And Roadster Shop just so happens to have an excellent RS4 platform. They do a lot of Broncos, but they had developed one for the Wagoneer. And at the time, this was the first one that was going to be installed in a car that was going to be used immediately. So it's kind of a guinea pig. That RS4 chassis has solid axles, but a lot more linkage than the stock frame could accommodate. Brand new Curry axles as well with a little bit higher gear ratio. We've got a Dana 44 in front, a Dana 60 in the back. They're straight cut gears, so definitely extremely capable for 4-wheel drive. And again, retaining that stock transfer case. I also had to get a new fuel tank to fit in that new frame. Roadster Shop luckily sells one. It's a 22-gallon setup, so a little bit more capacity than the stock setup on this Jeep, at least from the factory, which is about 16 gallons and kind of side mounted, so the fuel tank goes to the back of the truck. That chassis also allowed me the opportunity to look at that 4L60E, which I wasn't very happy with. I had some reliability issues throughout those 10,000 miles. And I swapped to a brand new 6L80E. That was a way to get the gear spread I was looking for with those higher axle ratios from Roadster Shop. I wanted to do 75 miles an hour in this thing and drive across Wyoming with my whole family in it. So that's really what I was optimizing for. But with enough gears, you definitely can put it into 4-low and put your nose in some dirty stuff, which is really the first christening I had after we frame swapped it was the worst snowstorm in the Northwest, and didn't realize that I had lost that vacuum actuated four-wheel drive, and I had to manually lock my front hub. So I crossed a mountain pass in 10 inches of snow. My whole family strapped in two-wheel drive. I told my wife about that once we arrived, but thing took care of us. I also mentioned the brakes. Those new axles and the new chassis accommodate a brand new brake setup, bare 13-inch pistons with 6-pot calipers. They are custom painted gold to match this light wood grain tone on the exterior vinyl, and they can grab. And they can stop this thing in a hurry. They are not ABS, so you put your foot into it, the car will stop. And that is paired with BF Goodrich KO2s, and as I said, that kind of setup really prepared me for pretty much any scenario I was going to put myself into, and definitely gives it a little bit more aggressive setup. The car has excellent road manners. I've put about 4,000 miles since that transmission, chassis, brake, and tire swap. And as I was saying, man, this car has the road manners that I love. It retains all of its capability. I did the last phase of the project, which was the interior. Pretty much gutted the interior, pulled out all of the carpet that was in it, put in some Soundskins Pro sound insulation myself all throughout, installed a brand new carpet kit, had the seats sent out to Northwest Crafted where they reupholstered and installed new foam and maintained the corduroy insert. So it's got a very stock feel in the interior. Did swap a Cherokee wheel onto it. I prefer that over the monstrosity that was in these Grand Wagoneers. And really at this point, the car smells brand new. The seats are brand new. All the window and door and window felts are brand new rubber. So there's no water that's getting into it, which is different from kind of the moldy carbon monoxide smell that I endured for multiple years, hours, and thousands of miles. So I really didn't want to sell this car at all. Like, it is a part of my family. Everybody loves it. I love it. But in that drawn out project process, I had a third child, and putting 3 car seats across the rear seat no longer works. So unfortunately, it is time for this car to go, even as it's about as dialed as I would ever be able to make it. I love this car. It's perfectly set up. Has a couple other modifications to it that I want to speak about as well. We did do a modern head unit, and I replaced all the stock speakers with the Focal speakers. Very high fidelity sound within this, which is, again, kind of another shocking element. Fully custom exhaust setup, so I don't even know if you want to use those speakers, but if you have to make a call, you've got a microphone, and it's Bluetooth capable, you can do that. I also worked with Jeep Heritage down in Texas. They make essentially this car in what they call the Vigilante platform on an RS modified chassis with modern power plants. And he helped me get some high-end materials, including this re-chromed grille, which is pot metal from the factory. And it's a very nice piece, very well done, heavy chrome on it. And some billet aluminum trays in the cargo area and trunk lid. We rebuilt all the window motors and the tailgate motor so they function perfectly. And then I removed the factory console, which was a feature on the 1990 and 91 models of this, which came out of a Dodge Caravan. Just a factory overhead dome light, simplified it. The console wasn't very functional, and also did the headliner at that time as well. This car was resprayed under previous ownership. You can tell in some spots, but ultimately it is a good enough paint job that I get comments, or got comments throughout my ownership, that it's the nicest car that they've ever seen. And that's definitely due to my care of the paint system and keeping the paint looking really good. But it's also in a sweet spot of the car looks really great, it cleans up well, but it's not so precious that you can't use it, and use it is all that I did. This car has been on a lot of Griot's Garage marketing material, and again, it's been a part of my family, and I think most of our employees are shocked that I would ever let this go. But I do have the next Jeep already in mind. I'm a Jeep guy, as my dad was before me, and have these as part of my memory in my early childhood. This thing is ready to go. It's one of the best driving Jeeps I could ever imagine, and I spent a lot of time and energy perfecting it over time. Had some great help along the way from J-Rod and Custom. It's incredibly reliable, gets better gas mileage, and smells and looks pretty much brand new with a little bit of attitude to boot. So if you've been looking for one of these and don't want to wait, this thing is pretty dang refined and is ready to go. In particular, if you have a perfectly sized family and a couple dogs to throw in the back, this will be good to you for a long time to come. Thanks for watching. If you're bidding in the auction, good luck, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.